You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. Success. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Boom! That's exactly it.
Do that. Let's do that. Boom! That's exactly it. My man.
What's going
Chris
on?
Stone, here we go again. It's Wednesday already. You believe this?
Oh,
I
yeah,
tell
it's hump
you
day,
what.
baby.
Yeah.
We still got how many days left to sell?
Yeah. What, is that a 3 or a 0? I don't know what you're doing.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know, you
How's
gotta
that?
be okay. Yeah, well, that's right. Listen, every day's a day to sell. It's just constantly, you know, that's the challenge, dude. People turn it on and turn it off. It's just got to be on all the time. You're always selling yourself. In every I'm on a roll here, so just hold on for a second.
All right.
In every conversation, a transaction is taking place. Somebody's buying and somebody's selling. Normally, it's just ideas back and forth, but you're always trying to remain credible. We just had elections in various parts of the country. Everyone's a salesman.
Right.
And the main sale is whether or not you believe me if I'm credible. And so it's something to be practiced. I'm a big fan of all this stuff. And that's why we do these kind of sales shows and interview shows, just to let you know, it is kind of part of life. And what happens on these shows is a lot of the people that we've interviewed have become friends. Joe Peachy and Mercandante and Joe Miller and these people, they're all actually at an event right now. And they're, I'm like jealous that I'm not there. But these are
got to be piping this show in at that event. I mean, how you got to stop.
I know it's a madhouse with all these things.
That's part of the thing. So if you're watching the Deej on any of the other tubes on the interwebs, the Book of Face, the Tube of Eunice, LinkedIn. I don't know if we have a word for that. LinkedIn.
I'll
Twitter,
have to come up with a word.
All of that stuff. We're over on Amazon, and that's where you got to hang out here. And we're talking to the beer man today from Buettemann Imports, and it's awesome. But Dan, I know last week we talked about a book that Victor Antonio turned me on to, and I started reading that. But I thought, I was so busy, I haven't been able to read much of that book. And I was just cranking out tons of podcasts, tons of edits. Yeah. And you know what helped me do it is I got this standing desk, and it's awesome. It's called Flexi Spot. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Flexi Spot. And so basically, like, this thing, you can see right here. My cord game is pretty sloppy, I will admit, but it's got this little up and down thing. And I tell you what, they say sitting is the new smoking. And if you sit for a long period of time, except to, get up and go do your business every so often, it's not good. It's just not good for you. And you're going to feel better if you get up and move around. I know you go up and you do push-ups, but like, I just stand a lot. But here's the thing. It's like, if you stand a lot, you also can get sore. Your knees, start to get a little sore. So I bought something called the Fezzibo standing board. Do you know about these?
Fezzibo? No, but I like the name. You are official. Oh, yeah. And you rock back and forth. You are officially Sir Stand-A-Lot.
Sir Stand-A-Lot.
Yeah.
Now I'm Sir Rock-A-Lot, because I kind of, what this does is when you stand there, you kind of rock back and forth. Keeps the keeps the knees greasy, right? Keeps the blood flowing, keeps the circulation going, because you stand on these things. These are actually like really comfortable. You can stand barefoot or with socks or whatever, and your feet start to get a little whatever, and you have this little cushion.
And
right
actually,
here. Pretty awesome.
Even if you're sitting, I used to have something like that too. Even if you're sitting, it's good because it has those little bumps on it. It massages your feet. You run back. So multi-use.
So those are my recommendations of the week, especially for those that are working a lot and they have a busy week. You got to make sure be mindful to be able to stand and sit and
and don't take it from me. Take it from Sir Stand-A-Lot, available on Amazon. So it's very important to do that. But hey, so we're doing these shows, everybody becomes friends, but a lot of people don't realize that we sell businesses. We do business brokerage. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes the people are in those businesses too, I also become friends with. And this guest happens to be one of those who has the coolest business ever. And people out there can start with this hobby and it's great. And so, we gotta bring him on board. So with that, let me introduce to you a man of many talents and skill, my friend, the beer man, Jim Bittman. Come on. Oh, there he is. Yeah. After all that, I forgot to put my arms up.
We got him, Jim. We got him.
Jim Bittman is here. So, Chris Stone, you don't realize this about Jim Bittman, but he had Jim, tell us about your career prior to becoming the beer man.
So I was a high-tech entrepreneur. I started the business when I was 27 and ran it for about 30 years and then sold it out.
Yes. And the cool thing is when this man knows how to run a business and how to build a business to turn it into a business, that is saleable. But tell me the story about when you were actually going through the process and they were trying to find your name on the hierarchy of this thing, how it worked.
Oh, yeah. So as the business started to grow, I hired somebody to run it. And I decided that my goal was to work my way down the ladder. And I realized how successful I was when we sold the business and somebody showed me the book and there was an org chart on it and I wasn't even on the org chart. So I had successfully worked my way right off the ladder and out of a job.
Which is crazy. I mean, you didn't even have to sign anything at closing. Well, I imagine you had to sign something, but which is really good. Then he started the people that are entrepreneurial generally don't just have, one interest. It isn't just their business. They also have several hobbies. And you've got several of them too, Jim Bittman. And if you could share them, that would be terrific, and how you got into them.
Yeah, well, my biggest hobby is travel, and I like to do bike trips, and I've done a number of them. The longest one was Alaska to Mexico, and then as we were married, my wife and I started this thing where we would do a yours, mine, ours vacation rotation. And for my trips, they were always Eastern European bike trips, which is kind of where the whole ties into the whole beer thing. The first trip I took was in the Czech Republic and is very near the brewery that we now represent.
Really? Well, so which is crazy to begin with. So I didn't realize biking was so big. You actually went before we get to Eastern Europe, you just skimmed over it from Alaska to Mexico.
Yeah, it was 5,000 miles. The summer of 1987.
What kind of bike do you have?
Now?
Well,
I have a Trek now. I don't know what that one was actually.
Oh, how did your tuchus feel with that?
It gets used to it. Sore for a few days, and then you're good.
Real. Now, how do you do a bike trip like that? Now, see, I mean, Czech Republic, the whole country is not 5,000, miles. It's a small thing. So on something like that, on a long trip like that, what do you do? I mean, how do you stop? How many miles a day do you average?
It was about 100 days. So we averaged, what we did is we averaged 2 days on, 1 day off. So 75 miles a day for the on days, and then a day off where we would do hiking or something.
Wow. How many people did you go with?
One guy did the whole thing, and then we had a couple other people join us for sections. So yeah, we were completely self-sufficient. We had, tent, sleeping bag, stoves, everything with us.
Oh, that is the coolest thing ever. And then you discovered beer.
I discovered beer early in life. Hope my dad's not listening, because he might now know what happened to all those old Milwaukees that would get taken every once in a while.
Old Milwaukee. Now there's a name. What about the big Chris Stone? Do you ever have old Milwaukees?
Yes, I've had old Milwaukee.
Yeah,
for sure. But I grew up in suburban Detroit, so Stroh's was the jam. But yeah, old Milwaukee was definitely a part of the of my diet. Let's just say.
I always went to the types of beers that had good jingles. Like, because beers used to have songs too. Remember, Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one. You don't know that song?
I would say my favorite one would be Lowenbrau. Do you remember Lowenbrau?
Did they have a song?
I'm not going to sing.
What was their song?
You probably wouldn't recognize it. Tonight is kind of special. The beer will pour. Must be something more somehow.
Wow!
But tonight, let it be Lowenbrau.
Right, that's good. Wait, so Jim Bittman, you got to have one jingle that you're going to have.
I do not have a jingle. I'm racking my brain and I don't have one.
Remember Rheingold? Remember that one? My beer is Rheingold, the dry beer. Think of Rheingold whenever you buy beer. It's refreshing. Is this just nobody joins in this thing over here?
I don't know what a Rheingold is. If you would ask me what Rheingold was, I would have guessed maybe like a horse and buggy brand.
You don't remember Rheingold beer? They used to advertise it on the Met games at Shea Stadium. After all right, so awesome. So tell us about your trip to your first experience in the Czech Republic with that bike ride. Because you had showed me one picture. Was that the one that you were laying in the poppy fields?
That is the one from the poppy field. Absolutely. It was just a wonderful experience. Just I had never been to that part of the world, and just seeing everything and meeting the people, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah. Now, did they give tours of those beer places when you're there?
I don't believe we did tour the brewery this time, but yeah, you can certainly get them if you want to go and set that up.
Okay, cool. All right. So in the business thing, so you sold that one business and all happy as a clam doing all that stuff. And so you decide, and we'd had conversations crazily, let's get into this beer business, but it's not actually a beer business. Tell us about what Buettemann does.
So we're an import business. And what I like to say is, I said, it's an ideal business because there's it's a product I know and love and familiar with, part of the world I'm interested in, and there's limited suppliers and limited customers. So, we represent about 10 breweries from around 8 countries. And so that's a small number and manageable. And we can only, due to the 3-tier system, we can only sell to distributors. So we have 20-something distributors. So it's a limited number of suppliers, limited number of customers. It's a great product, and I never physically have to handle it. So because of the way this business was set up, the operations, everything flows through, a couple different warehouses, and I'm not even where I am. So it's really an ideal business.
Yeah. So now, how are you getting these? With all the stuff that's going on now, how are you getting these things imported here? I mean, are the containers sitting in Long Beach, California?
No, fortunately, we only import, because we're coming from Europe, we import to the East Coast. So we're avoiding that, but there's still a lot of congestion. And in the first 6 months, things were pretty normal of owning this business, but then the prices for freight doubled, and then they doubled again. So the freight right now is 4 times what it was a year ago.
Wow.
And a product that's inexpensive like beer, the freight is a very significant piece of my total cost. And what's makes it even worse is that the competitors, the local craft breweries and stuff, they don't have this cost. they've got the trucking, the local trucking, but I've got that too. So this is a cost that increase that imports have that domestic competitors don't.
So, but your product is completely different too, in terms of like they can't get this normally from just from any local place. So you're selling to distributors. How does the customer get it?
Well, so the distributors then would be the ones that would sell to retailers and restaurants. So so the top tier is the manufacturers and importers. Then there's the distributors. Then there's the retailers and restaurants. And that's where the consumer goes. But you're absolutely right, Dan. I mean, we have a unique product. I mean, that's the whole thing. Instead, if you want to get a Russian beer, your choices are pretty limited. And
I was going to ask, I was going to ask you about that, like your competition, right? I mean, this is highly specialized, right? But I'm sure there are other importers like yourself that you're maybe having the same conversations with particular craft breweries where in whatever countries or is the competition, is the pool so shallow that you're able to swim nicely and just sort of battle the supply chain issues?
Yeah, so far, knock on wood here. So our sales are flat to slightly up from a year ago. Awesome. So that's great. I purchased this business. It was an existing business, and the previous owner, I've heard from everybody, has just done a great job in finding these niches out there. And so what we're doing is we're selling products to people that are familiar with these brands. So through ethnic grocery stores and restaurants, we're selling products that into neighborhoods that have concentrations of people from these parts of the world. So we do have a built-in market, and again, they've done a great job in finding these pockets of people and the supply chains to get them.
Oh, so you're right in the whole mix of the supply chain thing. What countries do you actually represent?
All right, so Russia, we have a couple breweries in Russia, Ukraine, Czech Republic, Lithuania, Estonia, and the one kind of outlier is India. So we do bring in a couple beers from India, and those sell extremely well also.
Really, Indian beers?
I don't think I've ever had a beer from India before. What's a good beer from India?
So we sell two. It's Hunter and Power 10,000.
Power 10,000 sounds awesome.
Yeah, so they actually are very tasty beers, and we turn them real quick. I think I don't know for a fact because again we sell to distributors who then sell to the customers, but I would suspect that the vast majority of them go through Indian restaurants.
It sounds like in India, rather than have a heavy metal band name their band something, they would rather name a beer or something that would equate to it. I mean, that's just an amazing name. I need to go get a T-shirt or something. I feel
my wife loves. Well, and what's cool about the beers is they have really cool labels. Could you show some label? That's what he does. And here's something people don't realize: a beer you get to look at the size of that thing. Wait, put the camera.
Holy smokes!
Yeah. So this one's from the Ukraine. So it's got the the foreign text on it. Here's this is a 1 liter bottle from Russia.
Oh my gosh, that looks like it could be like cold brew coffee or something.
Yeah.
Do you think, Jim, part of this is not only just people maybe wanting to try these because they have an affinity for beer in general, but like you have this display going on behind you, and these bottles look great. It's something you can keep. It's something you can adorn a man cave with or something. You think that's part of the interest for people, or it helps the sales of this stuff?
Yeah, and I'll tell you a story. When I have a friend who actually owns a pub here in town, and I was trying to get him to get the beers, and I brought in that Russian bottle, and he goes, I tell you what, if I walked into a restaurant and there was one of those sitting on the table, I'd sit down and say, give me one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
What the heck is that? I've never seen anything like it.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. That's what you got to say. So even beer, it's a thing. Label sells things. Names of things sell. And Now, your beers, they generally have, because in full disclosure, Jim has given us some of these, a case of some of these that my wife really loves. In fact, she was able to be the taster for several of these products.
Excellent.
And they generally have a higher alcohol ratio than most. Do they not?
Yeah, so we have the whole range. I mean, a lot of them are in the 5% range, but the Indian beers I think are 6.5%. But we have some from Lithuania are really high. They go up to 15, 16%. So
that's almost twice a glass of wine in terms of alcohol content. Wow.
Yeah, Lithuania. Now, have you been to the Ukraine?
I have not been to the Ukraine, and I had a bike trip actually booked through Estonia and Lithuania, and I ended up doing a different one instead. But I'm eager to go there. I was just a month ago. I had planned to go to Lithuania and the Czech Republic to see the breweries, but Lithuania closed down to COVID, so I had to cancel that. And we ended up doing. We were in Malta, and we're thinking about bringing in the beer reintroducing this beer from Malta that used to be available here. And I tell you, the people there, I mean, because they weren't doing brewery tours or anything, but because we were there, my wife and I got a private tour with the head brewmaster and the head bottling guy. And it's like showing us the whole thing. And it was just absolutely wonderful. I mean, you get some good attention when you're talking about bringing their beer to the U.S. market.
Where is Malta? It sounds like it's an island. Where is it? Like, what's the country next to Malta?
It's right next to Sicily.
Right.
Yeah.
Next
Unfortunately,
to Sicily.
Dan, it's not anywhere near Kazakhstan.
Okay. So is it?
Yeah.
Is it by the well, Sicily's on the tail, right? By the boot.
Right.
Yeah. So is it east or west of Sicily?
It is west.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful small country, and they speak English there too.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Like heavily Italian accented English?
No, they were ruled by the English for like 50 years or something. So they drive on that side of the road, and that's all all that.
Oh, good. And do they have any good? Is their beer good? Are you working that angle?
I am working it. Their beer is good. They also have some other products. They have a 0.0% alcohol-free beer. So a lot of the alcohol-free beers are 0.5. Right. But they actually have a 0.0 that's pretty tasty. And the question is there a natural market for it? Because there aren't very many Maltese people here. And to introduce a new product, I mean, this is one of the challenges in the beer market right now, is because with all the microbreweries, there are, the shelves are just stock full with so many in different brands, different, types of beer. And to try and get, something new onto the shelf is really hard.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people want to support their local microbrews. I feel, when they go to pubs and somebody's got, like here in Atlanta, there's Sweetwater, there's Terrapin, but then there's smaller ones as well. Is like, you've got the major brands, but you kind of feel almost, a pull to support local stuff as opposed to maybe experimenting, a Kazakhstan beer. But I just want to make mention. So there's a comment here from LinkedIn user. Oh, LinkedIn user. I know that's not your real name, but if you go to StreamYard.com/LinkedIn and give approval, we can see your face here right next to Jim, and we could see who actually asked this question. But it looks like LinkedIn users been to a lot of these places, especially the ones in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
I have a coworker that I work with who's from Ukraine, but she's in Lithuania right now, and she says it is totally locked down. Like, you're not allowed to leave your house. Like for Halloween, and they actually do Halloween there. They stayed in and carved pumpkins. Like that's what you do, and it was nobody there. But so with these beers, gosh, I had a good question and I completely forgot it. So
Must not have been that good.
yeah, no, it was good. It was about. Oh yeah. This is what it is. I remember when I went to Europe one time with my friend Glenn McLaughlin, good Irish guy, and big drinker. And we were out, and so we drinking everything, just going. I mean, experimenting and trying everything new. Finally, one day, like the last day, and then we finally got home, and I don't know what happened. We were someplace, but there was an opportunity, probably in the airport, to get another beer. And we say, well, let's get another beer. And I remember saying, you know what I want? I want a Budweiser. I mean, I just because it kind of tasted of home. At that point, I just said, you know what? I just want just give me not even a Bud Light. I want a Budweiser. That's it. And I imagine the people that go after the beers that you sell, these Russian beers, reminds them of home. And that's why in those environments, they're like, I want to have something that my dad used to drink. And so do you find that? Do you sell these things in those communities, like even more so on holidays, if there's a special holiday beer or something?
We definitely do. We have two upticks, the summer and the holiday season, the winter holiday season. And I've heard those exact words, Dan, is that it is, a taste of home, and that people do. This is the everyday beer that people would have had in those countries. So that is what we're selling in a lot of ways. And so there's really two pockets. I think that's our primary market, is the ethnic markets and grocery stores to people from those areas. But then it's to the other people who are more adventurous, travel with your beer and that kind of stuff, where you just want to try something different. Everybody or a lot of people are just looking for something they've never had before. The interesting bottle, or hey, I never thought about going to Lithuania, but let's check out their beer.
That's right. You know what? That's a great idea. What I've been doing, and this is somewhat, DJ crazy, but like I like really enjoy these kind of walking tours. And so they have people like in Lithuania or in, whatever country, in Amsterdam, with a little camera on their chest, and they just walk through the city. And they'll stop and they'll sit down at a restaurant and just have a beer or do something, whatever. And so like I join them sometimes, like I plan my day and I'm like, I'm going walking through Amsterdam today, and I'd walk around. But if you had like the local beers of that thing, it's a whole new market. It's like traveling to your living room and feel like you're somewhere. I think it's great. Yeah. So you have that local stuff there. So introducing a new beer is tough because you're not actually, that's a sales pitch to the consumer, but your sale is actually to the distributor.
Yeah. So, and it's challenging. So I live in New Hampshire. There are 6 distributors here, and nobody sells beers from any of these countries. And I had my sales pitch all planned. I don't know how big the market is, but I know that nobody in the state has any beers from these 8 countries. And I figured I would get my pick of distributors. None of them were interested.
And so, you're not even allowed to go to the pubs and the restaurants and sell to them directly.
No, I thought, because New Hampshire does have a quote loophole for small breweries. If you're below, I don't know what it is, 5,000 barrels or something a year, that you can bypass the distribution. So one of my breweries was this way, and I had somebody who wanted it, and I found out that does not apply to imports. So it's only for the local craft brewers, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
So they can have their tap room, so that you can go right to the tap room and you can sell it. So in the earlier days, like if you went to go to like a Miller or a Bud tour, they would give you free samples because they weren't allowed to sell it to you. Now with these microbreweries, they've changed the laws so that they can sell it to you, because that's part of their big business, is actually selling in their tap rooms. If they had to give that away, that would be, for Bud and Miller, that's nothing, right? But for these little guys, so they did have that, but it doesn't apply to imports.
So if somebody wants to try some of these beers that you have, how do they know who carries them, and what can they do? Like, how can they find exotic beers? Do you have a website?
We do have a website, and we all we do is have a map of what states we go to. I was cautioned by the previous owner that you don't want to put your distribution list up there, because that's it's really competitive information. And so,
do you have your beers up there?
Yeah, we have all the beers up there and information on them and that kind of stuff. And
so what's the website address?
So it's Buettemann.com. So you can see the Buettemann name down there, Buettemann.com. So the interesting thing too about the name is I had to change the name because I was buying just the beer division from a larger company. And Buettemann actually is my last name, the original German version of my last name, where my ancestors came from Germany. And it means man who makes wooden barrels. So my ancestors actually made wooden barrels for the wine industry,
which is really cool.
Yeah, so that's why that's what the barrel is for on the logo.
Well, we got to check. Chris Stone, can you look, see, without even me asking? Look at this. You see, this is what high quality production is. Yeah,
there's the Power 10,000.
Yes,
look at that.
The Power 10,000 right there.
Oh, super premium strong lager. Oh man, I'm ordering a case of this from Buettemann today.
You're not allowed to, and those are just interstate laws, which inhibit. So in this business, every business, we have a lot of small business people that watch and are interested in this thing. By the way, is there beer making? Like, did you ever make beer at your house? Did you ever do anything like that? Because I'm sure there's beer making kits and things like that.
So I went to a place, and it's I don't know if they still exist. But it was a great thing. So you could go to a place that had all the stuff there. So you go there and they have all the different ingredients and you pick your recipes and they do the other part. So you put it together, you have all that, they age it, and then you come back a couple weeks later and bottle it. So I have made my own, but not at home.
Oh, that's good. And of course you can label it and do it, all that stuff too. So have you renamed any beers yourself?
I have not renamed any beers.
You have not renamed beers? You haven't had like the Bittman 5000 or the
like I was telling you, Dan, it's really hard to get shelf space. So I'm just working hard to sell what we got.
Yeah,
I have tried to bring in. There was a brewery in Canada that has some great beer that I did have somebody, but we ran into a problem with the TTB is what regulates the alcohol importing.
The TTB.
And so normally you have to get a label approval. So that's the other thing, Dan. If I change the label, you got to go through the process to get the labels approved. But because they were using, I think it was almonds or hazelnuts or something, it has to go through a separate formula approval process, and that's where we fell down. So we're hung up in that right now. But we'll see.
But you know what's really cool? Behind you is a clock, and it says 1, 2, 3, 4. And I don't know why, but don't you always get excited when it's 12:34? Because then it says 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, look at that. You say, oh, you just changed. I mean, it's like when your odometer switches over. Remember that when we used to have like those rotary odometers in your car? And like, it's like 1, 1, 1, 1. You're all excited, and then you miss it because there's a red, and you have to wait a whole nother 1, 1, 1, 1 to get to the next one. 2, 2, 2, 2.
There's not any odometer related products in the Amazon carousel right now, Dan. But if there were, I'm sure Amazon. If you're viewing, this on Amazon, you could certainly find that.
Well, I bet there's beer making kits there. Okay, so in terms of you've done two things. You've actually done what most people haven't done. You have a business big enough, you sold it, and then you bought another. In that process of selling and buying, were there any unexpected things? There's always unexpected things, but were there any things that you would caution others who are going through the same process to look out for?
Well, let's see. So when we sold the business, so I used to have this expression that I was the kid on the playground saying, pick me, pick me, pick me, every time one of our competitors or somebody in the industry got bought. because it was 30 years is a long time in the tech business.
Yes.
But we ended up, the deal we had was absolutely perfect in every way. And I'm glad we didn't sell earlier, because I don't think I would have been mature enough to handle it. As far as going through the process, boy, it just drags out. And it got to January or something, and the deal, had kind of come together and everything. And so now I just start watching the world news. I'm like, oh, something's going to happen. It's war's going to break out in the Middle East or something, and it's going to kill it. And obviously it didn't, and we ended up closing in May. But I think back on that time now with respect to COVID, and it's like anybody else who was in that process, because the economy was booming, right? When COVID hit in January, and those I can't imagine what those people were going through, that all those deals that got squashed, that that were in the works right before the the COVID came out of nowhere.
Yes.
In terms of the deal, so I mean, it went through well. We transitioned well, everything, and I like to say that I got enough to do anything, but not enough to do nothing, and didn't.
That's a great expression.
Yeah, that's Warren Buffett's line, where somebody asked him how much money he was going to give his kids. Enough to do anything, but not enough to do nothing.
That's great.
So, and I wasn't ready to retire. I'm not quite 60. And so I couldn't see myself being an employee for somebody else. That just was not going to work. And so we started looking at buying a business, and that's
But then you bought this business, which is dependent on imports of containers of products from other parts of the world, and the virus hit. And so this is something that small business people go through, quickly learning how to improvise, adapt, and overcome, and push through. And you've managed to do that, which is very, very impressive.
Yeah. So in hindsight, I mean, we bought it, as you know, Dan, we started talking to you while COVID was kind of ramping up, and it was killing me that we couldn't fly down there and take a look at it because of the travel restrictions. And, so in hindsight, should I have not bought it because of COVID? And, we were like, it's going to blow over, and the shipping, this whole, what everybody's now calling the supply chain crisis, didn't even enter my mind that was going to, happen due to COVID. Right. So we were all worried about travel restrictions and stuff, but not impact on imports. And it didn't actually hit us until, a year after COVID is when it really started impacting us. So going through the buying process, I was probably a little overconfident that, hey, I can do this. I mean, it's like I said, limited suppliers, customers, don't have to handle it. And it's, I mean, I will tell anybody who's looking at buying a business that I would say the number one thing is the character of the people you're buying from.
Yes.
And nothing, because the legal agreements only put on paper what you better already believe. And if you don't think that they're being straight with you, or that they're going to follow through on what they say, run. Don't walk, run from that table. But we had the exact opposite situation. And the follow through has been tremendous. I mean, everybody we've worked with, and this is, the partnership that we have with them, because we do have this ongoing relationship. When I say I don't have to physically handle the product, it's because they are, and they're doing the paperwork, and they've gone above and beyond their commitments, the letter and spirit. And so that would be my, absolute top of the list for someone.
And that includes the broker and your representation too.
No doubt. I mean, well, look, man, I mean, I've called you every once in a while, it's just about, tell me about this or that. I mean, and it's true. I mean, that matters more than anything else. No question.
My son has gotten into a new thing with his business, and he needed to buy some heavy equipment. And the advice that I gave him, because I heard it from someone else, nothing great, is that all the equipment, one Bobcat is just like a, Kubota is just like a, another brand. And everybody says the same thing. You buy the dealer, not the product. Make sure the dealer's going to be there for you because stuff is going to break down. Make sure that they're by the dealer, not the product. Make sure they answer. But that is very important. It's the character of the people that you're purchasing. And, by the way, when you own a business and you go to sell it, it's the same thing. You got to be that person that they can trust. Remember, we started this thing by saying everything is sales. And you're selling your credibility, and so that's where it goes. So okay, so the beer business, you finished IT, you got the beer. How is your family? The other thing we didn't touch on is being in small business. It's not just you; it's you and your whole family. Everybody's in that world. How is that this business and small business and getting started and ramping up affected your family in whatever area you're willing to share?
Oh yeah, I think it's been really good for us. The kids used to always come in the office. We had Friday night pizza and we would race them around in the chairs, and all the employees remember that. So we did intentionally the first business when we were growing that is we made it was a family friendly business, and all the employees knew that, and they always appreciated that too. So I would, for somebody that does own a business or is thinking about it, you do have to make sure, Dan, that you include your whole family with it, because it isn't just about you, because the stress that's on you is gonna, hopefully you can leave that at the office, but it's hard. And our kids, I don't think have any idea of some of the times we went through in that 30 years. It wasn't sunshine and lollipops for all 30 years. For sure.
That's right.
So yeah, I think that from both ends of that, that. But when I first took this beer business, some of the kids said to my wife, they said, "I've never seen Dad so stressed." Yeah. It was more stressful than I realized bringing this on. I got this, I've done this before, and you forget, because I was an entrepreneur 30 years ago, right? And started hiring people, over the years. So it's been 25 since I had to do a lot of the stuff I'm doing now. I always could just say, health insurance, somebody else figure that out, or whatever. Yeah. But now everything, it's back to square one. And so it does impact the whole family, and that's for sure. And you got to go in with your eyes open on that.
Yeah, and you're also questioning all your life's decisions, and so when you're in the game, you're like, what the heck am I doing here? I've put this extra on myself, and you have to work through that too. It's just one of those things. By the way, I should tell you, because I was intimately involved with the sellers too, and obviously they sell these imports of beers, many from Russia. They are Russian, and when I met them first, they made a point to me. They said, "We know they had a little personal stigma about being Russians and a Russian business selling here in America, and they think that." They felt that people didn't trust them because they were Russian. And so they made it a point to tell me, we will go above and beyond. We feel this is more important than just this business and ourselves. This is for our whole community, that we are going to do right by whoever buys this business. And so that's something, again, when you own a business, above and beyond, and people will do that. Well, that's terrific. Let's one final thing regarding the company, the name of the company, the beer, where they people can find it, and all that stuff. Or what are you nationwide?
So the map was actually up on the website. So we are, pockets. Okay. I'm actually in discussion now to fill in a lot of that gray area. So I've got somebody I'm talking to now that's going to help me fill in a lot of those missing states. So we'll see where that goes, but if this happens, that would be a very big for us. It's to get that much more coverage. We probably represent well over 60-70% of the population by what we've got there, but a lot of the landmass is missing, and Texas is a big state. So that's part of this puzzle that we might be filling in now.
Oh, exciting! Is that with a new distributor?
It's with somebody that's going to help me get distributors. So it's somebody that would be in between me and the distributors.
Oh, okay.
It
Also,
would
Dan,
be,
check this out. They have their entire inventory posted as a PDF for people to look at and see what they have on hand, what's on the way, when it's expected, right there on the site.
So if I really want this particular Lithuanian beer or Czech Republic beer, and I call my local liquor store and they don't have it, but I say, hey, can you carry this stuff? Can they call their distributor? I mean, is that how this thing happens?
So if stores get enough inquiries for it, they might ask their distributor. And that certainly would help. I get contacts. It's interesting because I get contacts every once in a while, and people just say, I'm really looking for this or that. How do I get it? And hopefully we have a distributor in that state. And I say, well, here's the distributor's name. You can ask them who they sell to. But it is interesting. And I've had one or two of the people say, I'm really surprised anybody even answered this. I just thought, I was just throwing out an email and didn't figure I'd ever get somebody to respond. And, I'm just trying to learn more about my customer base. So it works in both ways.
Also, Dan,
yes.
Power 10,000.
Yeah.
They've got 119 on hand, just so you know.
Is that cases?
That's cases. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Look at that.
So now, how do you manage it? Like, when are your shipments coming in? I'm so interested in this whole supply chain when I see those pictures of all these container ships all over the place. So once it comes into port, how do you know how long until it's going to be taken off the bloody thing?
Yeah, so you hit me with something right now because I've got a container from Russia stuck at the port of Charleston right now because they put in, there's POSM, point of sales material, coasters and glasses and stuff.
Yeah.
And they put down, there's 2,412 of those or whatever units, but they just put down cases of beer. They didn't put down the exact number of cases of beer.
Oh.
It's been stuck for like 3 weeks because, we got to get somebody in Russia to contact somebody wherever to get this number changed on a form, and it's stuck for weeks, and charges are just piling up while that's happening. So it's a very difficult process, and
well, you're an IT guy. There's got to be a way to automate that mistakes don't get made like that.
Yeah, so it's complicated, and it's probably something I should have known, but it's one of those. Yeah. It's something I didn't know that I didn't know kind of things.
Well, it's just cool to be able to say I got a container stuck at the port of Charleston from Russia.
So we had the transition period, where the previous owner took over. So a couple of months in, there was a problem where we had a container stuck in St. Petersburg because an inspector found moldy pallets. And I'm like, I can't even believe that my life just changed for the point of, dealing with computer chips and stuff to having a problem with moldy pallets of beer in St. Petersburg, Russia.
You know what they should have had? There's this dehumidifier available on Amazon that we've been selling a lot. They need the dehumidifier on these container ships. What's it called?
It's the EvaDry mini dehumidifier. Available on Amazon.
Okay. So Dan, what I didn't know is that there's a real thing for this, right? Is that you have to pay extra for fumigated pallets. Oh no!
For fumigate, yeah. I guess you can't bring in the wood boring beetles or whatever on that. You can't trust the Russian wood. That Russian wood is loaded with all sorts of bugs. You can imagine, the stuff that people do. Wow, that's such an interesting world, and that's something in small business that I think everybody needs to know. You don't know what you don't know, but you do know that you'll be able to power through it with creativity and interest and desire and stick-to-itiveness. And then ultimately, it's totally worth it to be able to overcome these types of things because, when you're good at you ever go to a party like this, people think when you're good at one thing, people think you're good at everything. I mean, that's why doctors, they go to a party and people ask them, stock advice or something like that. What do they know? Or like athletes are giving you, advice on certain stuff. If you're good at one thing, people think you're good at everything. But if you are good at overcoming unthinkable issues that keep coming with your life will be better. You will be confident and be able to succeed in just about everything you do. I can't tell you how much I appreciate having you here, Jim Bittman.
Thank you very much, Dan.
We got to get together. I'm sorry I missed you here. I was in Philadelphia when you came down here last time, and so I missed you there. When you coming back to Atlanta?
Probably January, December, or November, December. When the Russian beer comes in, I want to take some pictures and do some other things. So I want to see it before it all ships out.
Okay, well, make sure you call me. We'll do that. Chris Stone, once again, producer extraordinaire, making things happen, and we appreciate all you guys watching. And sometimes we talk about beer, sometimes we talk about computers, but we're always talking about sales because that's your everyday occurrence. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. You're the best. I'm the Deej. Go get them today.